Okay, with the number 28, the Rockstar Husqvarna, Christian Craig. We got his mechanic. I'm going to try to scoot up a little bit. 6'6" versus 5'11" ain't doing it. But give us your title, your name, how long you've been doing this thing. Give us some background on where you come from.
Jared Warrick from Texas originally. I've been doing this since 2011 for privateers and amateurs up until I was at Team Tedder in 2020 and moved over here in October.
So did you ride dirt bikes growing up? Were you a moto guy? Were you trying to make it and then said, screw it, I'm going to be a mechanic, or where are we at?
I grew up racing, was terrible at it, never any good. So I figured I wanted to stay in the industry, so next best thing was become a mechanic.
All right, so let's talk a little about number 28. He's one of my favorite guys to watch ride a motorcycle. I mean, if anybody that knows, Christian's probably the smoothest rider out there. Looking on the bike, he looks effortless, which kind of pisses those guys off because you say, hey man, you look like you're barely trying. But trust me, Christian's trying his ass off, but he just looks effortless when he rides. So let's talk about this motorcycle, specifically the engine delivery. Of course, I know a lot about production-based FC 450s. What does Christian look for in his engine, and what goes on inside of this thing right now?
Christian looks for it to be pretty linear. He doesn't want it too snappy, doesn't want it to get away from him. We're a bit too much for him currently at the moment, but we're working on making it better for him. He just wants it controllable and easy to deliver the power to the ground, but he wants the power there when he needs it. So pretty much linear is his go-to.
So you're not physically inside these engines doing them. You have an engine guy, so you're just putting them in the chassis and doing that, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we have a full-time engine guy at the shop, takes care of everything we need. So.
Are you familiar with Steve Mathis?
Not really.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to move it along. All right, engine delivery. Unlike Cooper, we just talked about Cooper's engine. He likes a real snappy engine. He rides low on the berm. He wants a lot of front side. From what you're saying, Christian likes a smoother, linear power, doesn't want a lot of front side, and just maybe an overall easier bike to ride. So that's what's really cool about these factory engines, is they can tune them however they want them, and especially with the ECU. Are you involved in the tuning of that as well?
Not really. Again, we have a guy for that, and I kind of listen in when I can to learn more about it. That's my favorite part of the bike, actually. So I'm very interested in the mapping and how it all works and just the science behind it. But we have a guy for that. So
Christian's on 52 millimeter forks and suspension, exact pro components. Obviously something that you and I can't buy out there. It's totally different. I know WP does a lease program for 52 millimeter forks, but each team that runs WP has their own specific suspension tuner. So do you know what Christian looks for in his suspension?
I would say out of everybody on the team, he wants his more on the softer side of things. He wants it to be able to give and absorb every hit he takes, but at the same time, there's a balance between it, and he wants the bike to work all as one and be perfectly balanced all the way through.
A lot was said with the chassis of these bikes. They're a little bit stiffer than the previous generation frame. A lot of people were worried that Christian was going to come off of a Yamaha and get on the Husqvarna and not be as good in the whoops, but I've seen some practice videos in Florida. We've watched him here at Anaheim 1 in San Diego. He did have a spill, but he seems pretty good in the whoops, so the chassis seems not to be a problem.
No, I think the chassis is pretty good. First day on the bike, he was more comfortable than any of us thought he would be. And then obviously it's just translated over into Supercross. The whoops, he still hasn't lost any of his speed. He's still a rocket ship through those things. We're just looking to come out and show it finally.
Ergonomics, rider triangle. What is going on with he's a taller guy. I notice he has a flatter bar being a taller guy. Does he get a taller mount? Where are we at?
We're on 43 millimeter bar mounts. He runs the race team bar bin from Pro Taper. They are somewhat flatter, but
do we cut those down?
Nope, stock length, everything. The bar mounts compensate for him being flatter. Seat standard height. He doesn't like any ribs on his seat. It's too aggressive for his ass.
I concur a lot of that.
But
what about foot pegs? Standard area?
We're 5 mil down and 5 mil back.
So Christian was a little bit back and down in his Yamaha days. That continues on here. Obviously, those have to be custom peg mounts then, correct?
It's all done with the peg. The obviously the peg mount on these frames is part of the frame, so the pegs is how they move them. I don't know how they move them around, but they shift them around somehow.
Unlike the Red Bull KTM factory team, the Rockstar Husqvarna Energy racing team, they use FMF for their mufflers. So when we can pan back here and Kellen gets around here, you can see the opening of the FMF is a little bit different than a Kropovich side of things. If there's one thing that Christian is picky on, what would that be? If he's just a pain in your ass, what area of the motorcycle would that be? Well, we know Christian's a nice guy, but we can rat him out a little bit.
He's really, I mean, I was kind of nervous about it when we first started together, but he's super easy to work with, doesn't really complain. If there's something wrong with the bike, he usually tries to take it upon himself and say it's the way he's riding. But I'd say the biggest thing we do is we go back and forth with bars and clutch lever setups between bikes. Try to get it as close as I can. I've measured it. I use the level on my phone. I have everything marked, and it's still just slightly different every weekend. So,
Racers are weird guys, right?
Yep, they head cases for sure.
I'm guilty of that as well. Like, I'll go from different bikes and I'll be rolling them back, rolling them forward. And even though, just like what he said, they could be in the exact same position as the previous bike, I feel like I have to adjust it just myself. It's like an insecurity, I think.
It is. I think it's just kind of peace of knowing, giving you that little bit of comfortability since you are switching back and forth. And whether he puts them back in the same spot or not, he at least knows they're where they're supposed to be. So,
Do you get to ride dirt bikes anymore?
I actually don't care to ride dirt bikes anymore.
You know what? That's such a common thing with these mechanics now. It's like they're so burned out, they don't want to ride, or that time of my life is over with and this is what I'm doing. But I just feel like I love dirt bikes so much, and I'm around this beautiful looking bike. I want to put it together. I just want to ride it down the street. Do you ever get to just ride it a little bit?
I do ride it around the parking lot from time to time. But
you get happy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that makes you happy.
Yeah. I mean, I would enjoy going riding now. I just, arm pump is so bad. I get arm pump getting dressed, so
You're out.
I'm out.
I don't know, man. Christian, if I was building your bike, I would probably just roach it out going up and down the street just because I'd want to ride it so much. So beautiful looking bike. Thank you for walking us through. And he doesn't want to ride dirt bikes, people. It's sad to me. I mean, arm pump is real. We know this. But Christian, good luck, A2. And we'll continue to show you guys a little bit more bits and pieces on the number 28 here.